Imagine standing on a dusty, sun-baked plain, surrounded by towering trees and the distant rumble of thunder. You're not in a movie scene, you're actually experiencing the world as it was millions of years ago, long before humans even existed. This is where dinosaurs ruled, their massive bodies moving with an energy that makes modern animals look like tiny spectators. But here's the thing. What we see on screen today bears little resemblance to these ancient giants, and that's not just a Hollywood mistake. It's a fascinating story of science, imagination, and the human need for storytelling. Dinosaurs have always captured our imaginations. From the first time we heard about them in school to the moment we watched one stomping across the screen. Their sheer size and mystery make them perfect subjects for fantasy, adventure, and even horror, genres that thrive on exaggeration and dramatic flair. But here's where things get interesting. The dinosaurs you see in movies are not just a bit off. They're often completely wrong in ways that surprise even experts. It's like watching a modern-day version of a prehistoric creature, but with more spikes, fewer feathers, and a whole lot more action. So why do we have such an obsession with these long-extinct animals? Part of it has to do with the way humans process information. We love stories, especially ones that involve giants, monsters, and the unknown. Dinosaurs fit that bill perfectly. They're like ancient aliens, creatures from a time before our own, and their mysterious nature makes them irresistible. But there's also a scientific angle. For much of history, we had very little evidence about what dinosaurs actually looked like. The few fossils we found were often incomplete or misleading, leading to some pretty wild guesses. Fast forward to the 19th century, when paleontologists began uncovering more dinosaur bones and piecing together their anatomy. This era marked a turning point in our understanding of these creatures, but it also led to some early misconceptions that have stuck around for decades. Like the idea that all dinosaurs were scaly, cold-blooded reptiles or that they moved in slow, lumbering ways. These outdated ideas became the foundation for many early depictions of dinosaurs in art and media, creating a sort of dinosaurs as monster stereotype that's still lingering today. The real story is even more complex than you might think. Dinosaurs weren't just big reptiles. They were a diverse group of animals with different body structures, behaviors, and ecological roles. Some were feathered, others had wings, and many lived in social groups or even cared for their young, much like modern birds and mammals. But the problem is that when we try to visualize these creatures, we often default to the most dramatic, recognizable versions, the ones with spikes, claws, and a menacing stare. That's where the movies come in, blending science with storytelling to create something both entertaining and sometimes wildly inaccurate. Back in the 1800s, when dinosaurs were first being discovered, the world was still figuring out what bones even meant. Paleontologists had only just begun to realize that these ancient creatures weren't just giant lizards or mythical beasts from old stories. They were real animals that once roamed the Earth millions of years ago. But with so little knowledge and no modern technology like CT scans or DNA testing, they had to rely on guesswork, which led to some pretty wild reconstructions. Imagine being a scientist in 1824, when the first dinosaur bones were found in England. You've got these big, weird bones, but you don't know what they belong to. The bones are all jumbled up and missing pieces, so you have to piece them together like a puzzle with half the pieces missing. And since nobody had ever seen a real dinosaur, your imagination starts running wild. One minute you're thinking it's a giant lizard, the next you're convinced it looks more like a bird or even a human with extra legs. Some of these early reconstructions were so far off that they looked like something out of a cartoon. Think of those old pictures where dinosaurs had tiny heads and huge, bony tails. The scientists didn't know about feathers yet, but they thought maybe the creatures had some kind of armor or spikes to protect themselves. In fact, one scientist even claimed he found evidence of dinosaur horns, which we now know were just parts of other animals that got mixed up in the dig sites. The problem wasn't just a lack of information, it was also a matter of perspective. These early scientists didn't have the tools or knowledge to understand how dinosaurs moved or behaved. They saw bones and thought about what they could do, but they were missing the bigger picture. For example, one famous reconstruction from the 1850s showed a dinosaur with a long neck and tail, but it was actually just a misinterpretation of the bone structure. It looked like a creature that had both a neck and a tail, when in reality, those bones were part of the same skeleton. Even more confusing was the fact that some dinosaurs didn't look anything like their modern-day relatives. Take the case of the first theropod dinosaur, which was thought to be a fierce predator with long legs and sharp teeth. But early scientists had no idea that many of these creatures were actually feathered birds, or closely related to them. They saw bones but missed the evolutionary clues, leading to some very inaccurate depictions that would take decades to correct. When you think of a dinosaur, what's the first image that pops into your head? Chances are it's something like a towering, scaly creature with a long tail and a fierce stare. But here's the twist. Those images aren't actually based on real fossils or scientific discoveries. Instead, they come from old illustrations and movies that shaped our collective imagination decades ago. Back in the 19th century, when dinosaurs were first discovered, scientists didn't have all the tools we do today to piece together their full anatomy. So, they made educated guesses which sometimes led to some pretty wild ideas. These early artistic interpretations weren't just about drawing what looked cool. They were based on limited fossil records and a lack of understanding about how dinosaurs actually moved or lived. For example, many artists depicted dinosaurs as sluggish, cold-blooded reptiles slithering around like modern-day lizards, which is far from the truth. Fast forward to the 1930s with the release of King Kong, and suddenly we had a whole generation of moviegoers who thought dinosaurs looked more like dragon-like beasts than the feathered, agile creatures they really were. The influence of these outdated ideas didn't stop at the movies. They seeped into everything from comic books to video games, creating a visual template that has been repeated for generations. Think about it. When you see a T-Rex in a movie, it's often depicted as this massive, hulking beast with a long tail and tiny arms, which is not what the real thing looked like. In reality, many dinosaurs had feathers, were covered in scales or skin, and some even had colors that would make your average cartoon character blush. So why do we still see these inaccurate portrayals? It's because once an image becomes ingrained in popular culture, it's hard to change people's perceptions. Even today, when paleontologists discover new dinosaur species with feathers or different body structures, the public often reacts with confusion or skepticism. They're used to seeing dinosaurs as these monstrous, reptilian creatures and have trouble wrapping their heads around the idea that they might look more like birds than dragons. However, there's hope on the horizon. Thanks to advancements in technology and a growing understanding of dinosaur biology, we're starting to see more accurate depictions in modern media. But don't expect your favorite movies or TV shows to change overnight. There's a lot of artistic license at play here, and it takes time for old ideas to fade away. So next time you watch a dinosaur movie, remember that what you're seeing is not just science. It's also a bit of Hollywood magic. Fossils are like time capsules that whisper secrets from the ancient past, and they've played a crucial role in reshaping our understanding of dinosaurs. Imagine discovering a fossilized feather on a dinosaur skeleton. This wasn't just a random find. It was a game changer. Scientists were stunned because, for decades, dinosaurs were portrayed as scaly, cold-blooded beasts with no feathers at all. But this discovery flipped the script, showing that some dinosaurs had feathers, which means they might have been warm-blooded and even capable of flight. It's like finding out your favorite superhero has a secret identity and a whole new set of powers. Before these groundbreaking discoveries, our knowledge of dinosaurs was based largely on incomplete skeletons and artistic interpretations. Artists painted them with scales and tails that looked more like dragons than the creatures they actually were. But as scientists started uncovering more fossils, especially those with feathers, it became clear that many dinosaurs had a much more complex and diverse range of features. These findings not only changed how we picture these ancient animals, but also helped bridge the gap between dinosaurs and modern birds, which are actually their closest living relatives. The process of studying fossils is like solving a puzzle with missing pieces. Each new discovery adds another piece to the picture, allowing scientists to reconstruct what these creatures looked like in life. For example, finding a fossilized skin imprint can reveal patterns similar to those on modern animals, helping researchers determine if a dinosaur had scales, feathers, or even fur. These details aren't just about appearance. They provide clues about behavior, diet, and how these creatures interacted with their environment, making the science both fascinating and incredibly detailed. Advancements in technology have also played a massive role in changing our understanding of dinosaurs. Techniques like CT scans and 3D modeling allow scientists to examine fossils in ways that were once impossible. These tools help uncover hidden structures within bones, giving insights into things like brain size, posture, and even the possibility of certain behaviors. It's like having an X-ray for a dinosaur skeleton, revealing secrets that would have been invisible to the naked eye just a few decades ago. As our knowledge grows, so does our ability to depict dinosaurs more accurately in movies and media. The once popular image of dinosaurs as monstrous, scaly creatures is slowly being replaced by more realistic portrayals that reflect what we now know about their biology, behavior, and even their appearance. This shift isn't just about making the visuals more accurate. It's about telling a more complete story of these ancient animals, one that reflects the incredible scientific journey that has brought us to this point. Imagine walking into a museum where the T-Rex isn't roaring like it's about to eat you, but instead stands with a long, slender tail that curves gracefully behind it. That's not just fantasy. It's modern paleontology in action. Scientists today use advanced tools like 3D modeling and DNA analysis to piece together what these ancient creatures really looked like, moving away from the dramatic, sometimes inaccurate portrayals we've seen for decades. Back in the day, dinosaurs were often depicted with feathers or scales that didn't match the fossil evidence. But now things are different. With 3D modeling, researchers can take scans of fossils and digitally reconstruct entire skeletons, allowing them to see how these creatures might have moved or even stood. It's like having a time machine in your lab where you can bring a dinosaur back to life without ever leaving your chair. But here's the real kicker. DNA analysis has taken things to another level. While we can't extract actual dinosaur DNA from fossils, scientists are using genetic data from modern birds and reptiles, since they're our closest living relatives, to infer what certain traits might have looked like in their ancient ancestors. This means that a velociraptor, which once had a fearsome image of being scaly and fierce, might actually have been feathered and more bird-like than we ever imagined. Technology isn't just making dinosaurs look cooler, it's helping us understand their behavior too. By studying the structure of their bones and how they were arranged, scientists can guess whether certain species were fast runners or slow walkers. It's like a detective story where every bone is a clue, and each new discovery helps paint a more complete picture. In fact, some recent reconstructions have even changed our understanding of dinosaur posture. For example, many dinosaurs once thought to be hunched over on their hind legs are now believed to have stood upright with legs directly under them, much like modern birds. This shift in perspective has led to more accurate depictions in documentaries and educational materials, showing that the past is not as simple as it seems.